as any small business, and particularly attorneys, it'd be nice just to be an attorney, but the reality is, in most cases, you're a business person. Unless you're an employee of a large firm, if you're in a small firm or a partner of your own firm, part of your day has to be, where is the business going to come from? And it used to be, my father was an attorney. It used to be, you just did good work and more business came to you. But as the market's gotten more competitive in every industry, it requires more and more thought to what do we want to put out in the market so we get those referrals, how do we stay in touch with people who talk to us and convert that into business. We're excited to have today Mark Mottershead, who is the founder of Silver Shield Media, which is a media company which in part focuses directly on estate planning attorneys, how to help them generate their business, and has two pieces of the puzzle that I think every attorney should look at and have a solution for, either on their own or take a look at his. Mark, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Bill, for the invitation.
And so I think I see the challenge attorneys have of either not enough business or so much activity that's not turning into revenue, where they're paying a lot of money for their ads and not getting the results, or getting a lot of work. So talk a little bit about how you see the problem and where you position yourself to help solve that problem.
Yeah, I think in the past, attorneys would have relied a lot on referrals, and it was probably a steady business because they had a certain network. But of course, with the introduction of the internet and now mobile phones, that has turned into a completely different ball game now, because perhaps the referral network is dropping off, but it's been replaced by this wave of people with mobile phones in their hands, cell phones in their hands. And so people are just looking for help. And there's a massive change that has just happened, I say just about 3 months ago in Google, that is really exasperating this issue. And so, as you say, it's often a feast or famine. Maybe the phone doesn't ring, and then the phone rings off the hook, and they don't have the staff, especially the smaller practice, to handle the influx of inbound calls. And so what happens is the attorney themselves probably will act as the third receptionist and is trying to field calls and is trying to deal with people just looking for free advice. And so an awful lot of time is spent and no revenue is generated. So that's the issue I see out there. It's firstly having a reliable stream of incoming leads and then being able to deal with them in an efficient manner.
One of the challenges I've seen in sales throughout my career is that when you try to improve your conversion, there's a tendency to lower the standard of lead that you take in. And so while you get a little better conversion rate, or at least the number you want to hit, you end up with business that's much harder to work with. The business that I get referred by fiduciaries and attorneys, that listing is 1/10 the work of a stranger coming through. So I think that part of the challenge is, it used to be that your past clients, your friends, your family automatically came to you because there was only the yellow pages, or they only knew somebody to ask. Now with so many options, I want to say 30-40% of your past client business referral gets skimmed off by Google, Facebook ads, other people who look like they're effective and they're not. So talk a bit about, firstly, how does the practitioner who does a good job, who does good work, who has a good reputation and a following of sorts, what do they need to do to keep that kind of population percolating and then coming to them for a solution, rather than getting siphoned off by Google or other legal industry equivalents?
Well, in fact, with the change I just mentioned, there is now a big opportunity for all local businesses, and including estate planning, elder law, and probate attorneys as well. And the changes are that, so in the old days, people would look up estate planning attorney near me. But nowadays, they're so used to getting answers about specific issues. They might say, they might get the phone out and say, my dad is in hospital. I've got 48 hours to sort out his estate. What do I do? Now, as I say, in the old days, it would be just a very simple search, but it's like having a personal concierge in your pocket. That's what Gemini is becoming. So Gemini being the Google AI. And so attorneys who can answer those questions, maybe have those as an FAQ on their site, those results will start to appear in Gemini within that Google search. So if someone is specifically asking about protecting an estate, and obviously it is still locally based, let's not forget that. But if they have that on their site, they can start to attract that business. So it's not just a matter of how big you are, how many reviews you've got, what's your star rating. It's a matter of, can you provide the information to Google that will then help that individual? So there's a sea change in the way local search happens, and it's a very big opportunity for smaller attorney practices now.
Yeah, I see that myself. I was doing a self audit on my business and how I come up on AI. I've never really worked on search engine optimization. I've always worked on referrals, but I do know that customers get referred by an attorney, and then the customer wants to check me out. So I asked the question, like, who's the top probate real estate agent in Los Angeles? And I was shocked that I was on the list, and I went across 4 or 5 different large language models. And so I started digging into why. And the answer is, well, I have a lot of content. I have, podcast episodes with some of the top attorneys in LA. And I have a track record that's among the top couple in Los Angeles. Agents way below me were popping up because they had websites that were more Google AI compliant with, like you say, questions and answers. And I said, well, I have all that material. I just don't have it in a format that is accessible to the AI and in a way that makes it easier for them to find me. So talk a bit about some of the things that you do to help an attorney who maybe has all the pieces of the puzzle in a box. They just don't have it put together properly.
Yeah. So, I mean, in your case, what you might want to do is take those podcast episodes and get the transcripts. I'm sure you're using Notebook LM. So you might want to run those through Notebook LM and just pull out all of those common questions. Now,
Yes.
It's not quite the same as dealing with clients directly, but the same process would apply to clients. So what they could do, if they have call recordings of some of the conversations, not obviously the totally private ones, but confidential ones, but if they have conversation recordings, they can go through those and they can pull out the common questions and the common objections they might have.
Right.
And then they can answer those on their site.
Right.
And if they put those in an FAQ format that Google can understand, it will start Google start to pick up that text and that copy. Now, at the same time, they do need to trigger what the Google actually takes a look at them and scans their site. I've been recently running some searches via the Google API, so literally talking directly to Google and asking, for, let's say, estate planning attorneys in Miami, and you'd be surprised, some of these, even the top ranked attorney practices, they haven't been scanned. Their site hasn't been visited by Google for 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. So it's very important that these practices start to trigger Google's attention, and they can do that by posting photos and updates and updating their profile, their Google business profile. And all of this will start to trigger the AI's interest in their business.
I think that the exciting thing about this is, I've been a coach in real estate for a long time, and I've coached small businesses. I've always said there's 2 types of marketing. There's a marketing that's easy to sell, it just doesn't work. And there's a marketing that's hard to sell, but actually moves the needle. And I think what's happening with this AI, just to kind of, from my perspective, is it's de-emphasizing just the lipstick and the Botox and the short miniskirt and all that. And it's really saying, we'll emphasize your reputation, we'll emphasize your knowledge, your experience, your output, but you've got to put it in this format for us to see it. And if we see it, we're going to share that because we want customers, I should say our customers want to find you, but please just make it easy for us to find you. And so I think these changes in Google are technical. They sound very technical and off-putting, but the reality is, for those attorneys who are good at what they do and are honest and have good reputations and results, this is a chance to stand up and shine. However, you've got to submit your application of your information in the right format. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to remember that Google's goal at all times is to present their users with the best answers, because
Yes.
otherwise they'll go elsewhere.
Yes.
So if you're providing Google with the best answers for its clients, in other words, its users and searchers, then
Yes.
it will start to use your information. So, for example, let's say somebody needs to find a courthouse in their city, and they might not know where it is, or they need to visit your office before they visit the courthouse, whatever. And Google has put the pin for where your office is in your office block, but actually you're not on the main street there. You're on a side street, the entrance, and you haven't put in where your car park is, or whether you have car park facilities, whether you have wheelchair facilities. And of course, this is very relevant for estate planning attorneys because often there's an elderly person involved and they might want to come along and so forth. And so all of those little tiny things you can do will help Google to present its users, its searchers with the best results. Because if that person is driving round and round and round trying to find the entrance, and it's just plugged it straight into Google on its phone or on its Apple CarPlay on its in the car, and it's taking to the wrong location. I'm sure we've all experienced that, where you've put in the location, it's right. Jones and Sons attorneys, and it goes there, and no, it's completely the wrong place. And then you're in the one-way system maybe, and you can't find the car park, and it is hard work. So you need to make it as easy as possible for Google to have the right information that it can present to that person when they're driving along, for example.
I think that what I've learned about Google, I've been very active in YouTube for the last 5-6 years. I made the decision then was I don't know where all this search and AI is going, but I know if I create good content that's valuable to people who watch it, I can always repurpose it, reuse it, reformat it. And so one thing I love about Google's YouTube, because you said this on search, and it's true in YouTube as well. It just tells you that's their corporate philosophy. They want the search customer to get the result and experience they want and stay on Google's platform. So for me, I know on YouTube, there's only one metric that matters. How much of a video do people watch? All the rest is vanity, subscribers and views and all that's really nice. But at the end of the day, how long does the average person stay on your video, and how much cumulatively does your channel create watch time that makes happy YouTube customers? And the same with search. They're now going from search optimization to really saying, what do people really want? Well, people want solutions. They don't just want a bunch of web links. And so we have to package yourself a solution. So let's talk about, I went on your website. Well, first of all, I want to say anybody who's watching this, Mark offers a free giveaway, we call it lead magnet, the technology, but it's really a nice summary of an AI blueprint. And I actually downloaded it myself and found it helpful and made a couple changes to my Google profile. So if you're interested, I'll put it up at the end as well. But his company is silvershieldmedia.com/Bill is where this document's located. Feel free to go there. And I'll put up it again at the end. But let's take a look at your website. And I think I like the way that you presented the two kind of paths or main focuses in your marketing services, that this is something that any attorney has to think about, these two pillars. Talk a bit about them and how they fit into your system.
So the one on the left, as we look at it, the qualified consultation engine, we tend to specialize not in Google search ads as people know it, but Google local service ads. And the reason is that that's pretty much guaranteed to put you in that top space. Now, there's only so many spaces for Google local service ads within a specific city or a specific area, but it does put you at the top of the page there. And the pricing is per inquiry rather than per click. So that's a completely different setup. Now, you can use it without having the second service, the voice AI agent. But it's recommended to do it together. And the reason is that, again, trying to pacify the Google gods, it wants to present the best results for the people using its services. And that result will be a telephone call that's answered in a timely fashion. Timely means within 30 seconds. So it might be that during office hours, the call from the local service ad will go through to the receptionist or to somebody specified within the office to answer the calls. Great. Okay, works fine. But what happens if a second call comes in at the same time? Does that go to voicemail? Do they go to a hold system? So that needs to be dealt with, because that will start to count against the business. And when that when that happens, then Google will start to rate your business lower. So like I said, it wants to make sure that businesses are offering a service not just to their clients, but to Google's clients as well. So that's why we always ally it to the Instant Engage engine, which is the AI voice agent. And of course, that will answer all calls out of hours. And it's not just a press 1 for this, press 2 for that. It can really be programmed and set to qualify callers as you see fit. So it depends on the attorney and how they like to work, but it can be programmed with all of that. And they really are quite remarkable nowadays, the systems. And so if it's somebody who qualifies, whatever qualifies means for the particular attorney, they can be booked right into a calendar automatically. If not, it can be arranged for, let's say, a call back. Yes, we'll get one of our team to call you back tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, whatever the arrangement is. So the two working together really, it's very synchronous, and it helps to improve what Google does. It asks you, how do you rate the person we've sent to you, and you have to rate it within the local service ad dashboard. And the higher you rate it, it's kind of like a self-reinforcing system, because if you answer it quickly and the person gets a fast response, then yes, that's a good result for Google, and then it's also a good result for the person calling. And so it becomes a self-reinforcing thing that the more quality you get, the faster you answer it, the Google will send you those premium leads. Does that make sense?
Yes, and that's why it's important when you're a user and you get those opportunities to help somebody you want to help, that you provide the review, right? I'm older, I have various medical situations I'm getting maintained or whatever, and they all have a similar system that now leads me. I just noticed more and more, even doctors, it all leads kind of to some sort of a Google review or some sort of review system. And I'm always glad to help the ones that I like, because I want to promote their business. These are becoming very important, I think, for the business, especially estate planning, which can often be, one and done, or you're starting your practice, you're trying to build it. It's really important that customers leave the breadcrumbs of good service, so that Google goes, oh, they're happy, well, we'll send them another one. Oh, we'll send them another one, as long as it happens. And so that's what becomes so important. So,
and sorry, just to reinforce that, these reviews becoming more important. It's no point having 100 reviews that say great service or I love John, he was fantastic. What Google is looking for, because obviously when we're talking about the Google business profile and the reviews within that, that's prime Google space. Google knows it can read those without any issues, because it's all in the format that Google's created. And then it's looking for specific phrases. So this is all on the blueprint if you want to pick it up. Yeah. But what you want to be asking people when you want to ask them to leave a review is not just how was it? It's like, what did you come in with? How will we help to help you? What has been the result? So there's a story involved, and then they will start to use key phrases, not keywords, but key phrases like Medicaid planning, or my mother fell down and broke her hip, or whatever it is, and ... whatever the issue is. And so Google can directly read those reviews. And the other important factor is to respond to those reviews. So if you get a review on Google Business Profile, respond to it, because Google likes to see that too.
Yeah, all good advice. And again, I have to say, when I first saw you, I saw you running ads in the places where I see the attorneys that I work with posting their content. So for all I know, some of them or one of them are your client. And I went online and went to your website and got the lead magnet, the free offer that you have for the AI blueprint, and downloaded it. And I liked it. And I think for me, I don't want to just interview anybody. I want somebody. There's the number of people who are in the space, but I think it's important that I'd love to get my estate planning attorneys who are doing well to do better by getting better business, not just more, but we also want to get better business. So Mark, just kind of bring it to a final close here a little bit. So an attorney who is interested in more information from you, gets together with you and has some sort of a consult, what's the process look like? I mean, how much time is the attorney involved, or I guess if it's operations manager, is it handled at that level? What kind of investment? Is it variable? Is it based on the size of is it customizable based on the size of the firm? What does it look like, the next steps?
A lot of, let me answer that from the opposite direction. A lot of marketing firms tend to say, well, it's 3,000 a month, and you're set for 6 months, and then whatever. And if it's SEO, then that's an even bigger issue, because you never know what's the results you're going to get. So we've kind of turned that on its head, and we charge a setup fee, and then we charge a per appointment fee or per consultation fee. Yeah. So it's a pay per results kind of basis. The attorney will pay Google directly for the ads, and so those for the clients that get sent via the Google LSA ads, so they pay Google directly and they pay us directly per consultation. So that kind of removes all the risk. And the way we set that up is that we will obviously have an initial call, see what they're up to, see how they're currently handling calls. Now, the issues can be many and varied. So let's say some of them are to do with overwhelm, some are to do with not enough calls, some of them are to do with the qualifications not happening, the attorney spending too much time dealing with people who are really qualified. Maybe they don't have a follow-up system. So we make sure that the client or the prospect is followed up in a timely fashion. There might be a series of educational emails. There will be, if they have an appointment, there'll be not just email reminders, but text reminders. So it's a complete system that will take the Google LSA inquiries that come in and then convert those to qualified appointments. And we obviously decide together with the attorney in question what qualified means.
Are you able to share what the cost per consult is, or what the variables are in pricing the price per consult?
Yeah, so the cost for Google LSA ads, it's going to vary by state and by city, but let's say it's kind of it's 50 to 150, that kind of amount. That's what Google charges. And then we charge a fee on top of that. And what we're aiming to do is get a cost per signed client. So in other words, not just a consultation, but a signed client within a KPI, let's say 15%, 15 to 20%, something like that. So that means if we do that consistently, the attorney is going to be making, hopefully, about a 3 to 5 ROI on the money that they spend.
So maybe the cost per signing is $1,200 or $1,300, and the average signing might be 35 or 4,000, something, those kinds of round numbers?
Yeah, probably, yes, probably a bit less than that. I've actually got a calculator. So what we do is we walk people through a calculator on the site when we talk with them. And we say, okay, well, how much do you get per matter, per case? Right. Okay, we get 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 6, whatever it is. We say, okay, well, how many leads? What's your normal conversion rate, depending on whether it's a qualified or non-qualified, and what are you used to spending on your marketing costs? Now, if you're looking to be slightly more aggressive, you might be wanting to spend slightly more as a percentage. And then we say, okay, well, our normal charge is X per lead on top of the Google charge, X per consultation. That then comes to a total of whatever the number is. Does that make sense? Would that work for you? And then we put our name to it.
Right.
You know, we agree on that, and they are paying on a per consultation basis.
And I think now, is it, I guess to some degree, it's also variable, meaning times of the year they can be spending more money to get more leads, and other times of the year they can back off if they're going to go on vacation, I guess. And so if you can get the machine running and fine tuned, it gives you a little bit of flexibility that you wouldn't have otherwise, I would think.
Yeah, what you want to do is build up a track record with Google, so that Google is sending you those prime leads,
right?
You know, so that, again, just without wanting to repeat myself, it's making sure that you answer the calls in a timely fashion, and you give the customers a good service, and then they will start to feed those good leads to you.
Yeah,
and so you need. Sorry, just Bill, finish off. You need like 3, 4, 5 months to build up that track record, and then perhaps you can scale it back a bit.
Yeah, I think what you're doing is you're bringing to the market, to the smaller and mid-sized firms, the kind of marketing tools that the largest firms, the online ones, have used to build. I know trustandwill.com and LegalZoom, they've used these kinds of tools because they were much bigger, more expensive tools. And what AI has done is made some very powerful compute available to smaller companies like you that can provide then pieces of the puzzle to attorneys to put in their business. So that's what's, I think, exciting about this opportunity. Right now, a lot of the benefits are going to the large companies, and they're jumping into this. But at the same time, those of us who can kind of bite off a piece at a time and hyper focus it whenever business can make dramatic strides in time forward. So, Mark, I really appreciate you walking through this with us, and I appreciate the AI blueprint that you had online. If you want more information, I'll put up the link for his website. In fact, I'll put up the actual website if you want to see it again. Silver Shield Media is the name of the company, and Mark Mottershead, info@silvershieldmedia.com, and there's a website. And then he's offering kind of a free, I think, sample. The way I would think of it, kind of go through Costco and you get the little samples of the crackers and cheese. AI Readiness Blueprint he has created, silvershieldmedia.com/Bill. Hey, how about that? I like that one. And you go in there and you put in, I think, your name and your email, and you get a download. And I found it was just a 2-page read, pretty simple, but some good points that I literally read it, sat down, make changes in my profile, in things I just hadn't thought about. And I think it was very simple and easy to use. So, Mark, thank you so much for joining us today and bringing us the information regarding your program and continued success in helping my clients and the industry as a whole.
Thank you, Bill, and all the best to you and your clients too.
And for the rest of us, this was Estate Planning Weekly. We normally talk to estate planning attorneys, administrators, litigators, but today I wanted to bring somebody who I thought is a very interesting resource to estate planning firms looking to increase their business. Certainly worth a phone call and to see if it's a good fit for you. Marketing program as well. But again, there's so many different companies that do this. I thought this one was really right on point on what attorneys should be looking to do. If I can help any way, at Bill Gross Probate on social media, I'd love to get your comments, likes, questions, if I can help in any way. And as always, make today your best day ever. Thanks so much.